We're joined today by softball head coach Jamie Smythe. Coach, you guys depart for Florida Sunday, correct?
Yeah.
For 10 games down there, the kind of the annual trek to Fort Myers. You've had over a month of practices here. Just talk about how your team looks so far. I know it's sometimes difficult to tell in the gym what your team's going to look like outside.
Yeah, we've been working hard as usual, and doing the best that we can with the players in the gym. And like I said, I've said before, that's the hand you're dealt with when you're up in the Northeast. You have to do the best you can and try to prepare them. And that's part of the benefit of the Florida trip, is that we're able to get outside finally and work on things that we're unable to work on back home. And hopefully it's a good learning experience for everybody, and we continue to get better with that trip.
Now talk about kind of the composition of your team here. Kind of an interesting mix of returners and newcomers. You lost some pretty good players last year. In the nature of college sports, of course, you get 4 years to do the most you can with a certain class. And having lost Schufelt and Vanna, Heather Tripp, some pretty key contributors there. Talk about how maybe you go forward replacing those individuals with players that you already had on the roster and the newcomers.
Certainly every year you lose valuable pieces to your team, and that's the nature of college sports. And certainly those players are going to be missed, but you have to evaluate what you've got returning, and hopefully you did a good job recruiting and bringing in good young players. And I feel like we've done that. And we've got, I think it's 9 returners, maybe 8 new players. So, a good mixture of young and old. And, we expect everybody that we've kept on the roster to make contributions at one time or another during the season. And, we feel confident that they're going to be able to do that. We've got a great returning group, a strong nucleus of returners. And hopefully they are able to demonstrate to the young players what it's like to be a college softball player and perform at this level.
Some really good leadership on this team in a very strong senior class, and the likes of Connie Grovo, Teresa Hendricks, Lindsay Moore, and Ray Marie Copen, just to name a few. Talk about that group and what kind of leadership they've provided thus far.
They've been that was a strong recruiting class that year. We had a couple other players as well, and they've been a big part of why we've had a lot of success for the last number of years. Different ways too. I mean, I wouldn't say they're the most vocal. They kind of do it by leading by example and showing up and having a business-like approach. And that's a good part of leadership as well. You don't always have to be a yeller or somebody that's loud. You can be a good leader by just showing through your actions how to handle yourself. And certainly those 4 have been a huge part of our success, and hopefully will continue to be this year.
You talk about not necessarily being vocal. You yourself aren't really a yeller or a screamer. You kind of have an even keel approach. I know you're able to crack the whip when need be, but one of the challenges of women's sports from a coaching standpoint is, being a male, having to deal with some of those things that come up with a women's team is a little bit of a different thing. And that even keel approach certainly has seemed to work for you with 3 GNAC championships in a row here, 3 NCAA tournament appearances. But Coach, it's hard to believe. Looking at the roster the other day, I noticed a number after your name. This is your 17th season, which is that's incredible. How time has flown by. Talk about some of the things that you've changed in your coaching philosophy. Maybe that you early on in your career that you look back now and you think, man, I can't believe I handled it that way, or maybe some things in your philosophy that have differed over the years.
Well, I think I think any young coach that starts out is not all the time, but for the most part, more emotional. I don't know if that's the best word, but and more vocal, more laying it out there, and that's certainly how I was when I was younger, and just over the years when you observe different coaches and programs, sometimes you change the way that you handle things, and sometimes you realize things that may work that didn't work when you were a younger coach. I mean, that's all part of developing as a coach. I mean, I've never, I still learn things new every year, and that's, I've never been the type of person that feels like I know it all and can't get better. Just like the players, I don't expect anything out of them that I wouldn't expect out of myself, and. Yeah, clearly. I mean, I think you mature as an individual. I mean, when I first started coaching, I was 24 years old. So obviously, your mentality as a 24-year-old is a lot different than when you're a 43-year-old. And I've just realized that over the years that it's better to remain level-headed and not so emotional. And it works in a lot of different phases. It works with your players. It works with the umpires. It works with your staff. And like I said, I mean, it doesn't mean that I'm not a competitor. I mean, I'm one of the biggest competitors you'll ever meet, but, I've just over the years have found that approach works better, and that's what I've tried to utilize.
Does it feel like you've coached for 17 years?
No, I mean, it goes by quickly, and I mean, that's part of the reason that I wanted to get involved in coaching, is that I loved playing baseball, and I loved the game, and tried to translate it onto the softball field, and that's the beauty about coaching. When you're a player, you have 4 years in high school and you graduate, and you have 4 years in college and you graduate, and if you don't decide to coach, you're done with athletics, and that's what I love about coaching, is that you're year in and year out, you have a new group of people that hopefully you can help out. You have a new slate of games that you're able to coach in and hopefully be competitive in. And as long as I continue to have that passion and desire for the game of softball, I'll continue to coach.
Now let's talk about, everybody around the conference certainly knows about the returners that we've already mentioned, and their leadership abilities and their skills on the field. Let's talk about maybe some of the returners, the in-betweeners, not necessarily the seniors, that have come back and have really shown a great deal of improvement going into the season and could expect to play bigger roles.
Definitely, we've got some returners. For example, Laura Jordan is somebody that when you carry the number of pitchers we do, sometimes quality pitchers don't get the innings that they deserve, and Laura's fallen into that category. Somebody that's certainly a very fine pitcher, but has pitched behind some very good pitchers as well, and we expect her to step in this year and certainly contribute and help the team out. We've got a number of returners. I mean, Kim Jordan is another example of somebody that's been a starter for us, and has somebody that I think's flown under the radar, and we expect her. She's healthy. She had surgery a while back and has come back very strong off of that, and somebody that we're looking, is a very dangerous player, and somebody that we're looking for to step in and contribute. Victoria Ramos in the outfield, Meg Pellini. I mean, we've got a lot of returners that maybe haven't been in the limelight in the past couple of years, but certainly they're going to have an opportunity to shine this year, and we're expecting that from them.
I'll talk about now the newcomers, some of the new names on the roster. Who can we expect to see shining this year on that rookie class?
number of players we've brought in, 8, and again, I mean, when we make our roster in the fall, we, our philosophy is to not keep anybody that you don't feel can help the team, and when you have a roster of 19, you expect at some point, all 19 are going to make a contribution at some point, and we've got some good, really good young players. I mean, Carla Tripp is a real athletic catcher out of Freiburg. Is going to see a lot of time behind the plate. She's going to see time in the outfield. She's very fast, a real good ball player. Danica Gleason's another player that we're going to expect big things out of. I mean, she's was one of the better softball players in the state last year. She actually won the Miss Maine Softball Award. Just a great all-around player, can do a lot of different things, can hurt you with a bat, is a great defender. We've brought in 2 new pitchers that are first years, Kylie McFadden from Dover and Danielle Egan, who are, certainly not going to get stuck on the bench. I mean, we're going to expect them to give us innings out there as well. And, a lot of good young players. Mariah Harrison is going to be an infielder for us, left side infielder. She played at Bonnie Eagle. Hard worker, great individual, great player. At one point or the other, we're going to expect these young players to step up and contribute during the course of the season. We play 40 ball games, and there's plenty of opportunity to get everybody playing time, and that will start down in Florida as well. So,
how have indoor practices gone? Do you think the team is ready to get outside and start playing?
Yeah, I mean, every year, same conversation. We get to the 5-week, 6-week period of being indoors, and especially with the winter that we've had, it's been tough, up here. So, I mean, I think we're ready to certainly get out there and get to some warm weather and try to get some games under our belt, and hopefully while we're gone, a lot of the snow melts up here, and we're able to get outside relatively soon.
And we're all hoping for that. Now, certainly your program has been very successful in the GNAC with the championship game appearances. Always seem to make a good postseason run. This year, one of the top opponents that you faced in the GNAC is no longer in the conference. Emerson College has left. Last year was their final season. They're always a perennial favorite to kind of win the conference title, along with St. Joseph's. Obviously, still some good teams remaining in the conference, always competitive. But I'm sure, human nature being what it is, looking at that team having left the conference, how do you keep your players from just kind of thinking we're going to cruise to the title this year?
Well, I think, Emerson, certainly when we got into the conference, was always kind of the measuring point of what you were hoping or what you figured you had to go through to win the conference championship. Phil has done a great job there, and he'll do a great job in their new conference. But the last couple of years, Emerson wasn't around in the late rounds of the playoffs, and you had to go through teams that were as good, if not better. And this conference, since we started to now, has dramatically improved. You can look back to the conference tournament last year, and out of the top 4 seeds, 2 of the top 4 seeds lost in the opening round of the playoffs. So that certainly will give you an indication of how balanced the conference is, and every team is a legitimate threat, and you have to take that approach as a coach and as a team. I mean, you can't feel like you lost Emerson out of the conference and all of a sudden it's an easy road, because it isn't. And there's a number of teams and all young. I mean, Johnson and Wales is probably has 2 of the best pitchers in the conference, if not the 2 best. Suffolk was a final game participant last year. Simmons is always strong, and those teams are young. I mean, they didn't graduate many, if any, players. They're coming back at you every year with strong players. Emmanuel has gotten better. Rob's done a great job down there with them. St. Joe's of Connecticut is a young team that made a good run through the playoffs last year, and will get better this year. Norwich is always, they were the number 1 seed in the conference last year, and I'm mentioning them 5th in this conversation, 6th. And Riv is always strong. I mean, there's no easy wins, and I think if you feel like there are in this conference, then that's when it's going to sneak up on you and hurt you. So we don't, we're taking the approach that it's going to be a difficult road, as it is every year, to get to the playoffs and win in the playoffs. So, and we're hoping that we're ready for that.
Now, without giving opponents too much of a scouting report on your team, each year with the influx of talent, players having graduated, teams seem to have a different identity as far as what a strength could be, what brand of softball you're going to play. The days of Emily Leveroni, the masher in the middle of your lineup, just scoring tons of runs, to last year, still a very good lineup, but maybe base running and small ball was a bigger part of it, and pitching, of course, is always key. What do you expect, like an identity of your team, or some of the strengths or the brand of ball you're going to be playing?
I think first and foremost, we'll play hard, and I feel like if you play hard and you have good pitching and defense, you're going to hang around in a lot of ball games, and that's kind of going to try to be our focus. One thing that we've been lucky with is we've always had a deep pitching staff, and I think that helps. Like I said, we've never, I don't think we've ever had the best pitcher in the conference, but we've always had good depth at the pitching position, and that allows you to give a good variety to different teams, and they can't always count on facing the same pitcher every time that you play them. And I think that we play good defense, and certainly when you get into postseason play and playoffs, you need those 2 items to be successful. Not always, but you need to be strong in those 2 areas, and I'm hoping our identity is that we're a team that pitches well, fields the ball well, and plays hard, and you've got to have obviously just enough hitting and some timely hits to score runs as well. I mean, I don't discount that part of the game, but I think it all boils down to if you want to be in ball games, you got to be able to pitch and field, and hopefully get some clutch hitting. And I think our identity will kind of develop as the season goes on as well. I mean, you don't really know what it is, especially with 8 new ball players, until you kind of get some games under your belt. But I do know we'll be a team that plays hard, and we'll play till the final out, and that's all you can ask for as a coach.
All right, Coach. Well, thanks for your time today, and good luck down in Florida and the 2014 season.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Corey.